found it hard to accept that there were only 3 species of ants on these Maldivian islands. So it was time to find out. I booked some tours to go Maldives island hopping and broke away from my tour group to shoot some ants. By the way, AC family, if you're excited about today's episode, please hit that like button and let me know. Alright, so wandering off the tourist path a little bit, I instantly came across this open sandy area with sparse vegetation, and it was full of little pits. Ant holes. Check it out, AC family. It looks like we found our quote-unquote small red ants. But looking closer at them, you could tell right away that these red ants were not fire ants. These ants look different from our Fire Nation, but they were just as energetic. I loved watching them run about, constructing their holes and small anthills. Have a look. Now, one of the things you might notice about the anthills of these ants is that they aren't really huge nor too conspicuous. I feel when you live on a beach where you don't have a whole lot of plant coverage, you don't want to make your fortress too obvious and announce to predators that, hey, this is where I live. Now, I couldn't pin a genus on these girls to identify them until I spotted from the corner of my eye this. A super major! The super majors were super shy and weren't plentiful. Now, these ants weren't our titans, Asian marauder ants, but were probably a smaller and similar species belonging to the genus Phaedoli. Red ant mystery solved. Let's move on. My friend who was ant hunting with me called me over saying, "Hey, I found a huge black ant." Yes, perhaps it was our native Camponotus. When I finally saw it, I was shocked and filmed it with my eyes and mouth wide open the whole time. AC family, check it out and see if you can tell why. Do you see something funny about this big black ant? Well, AC family, this actually is not an ant. Believe it or not, this here is a spider. A jumping spider to be exact, probably belonging to the genus Myrmorachne. This spider was an ant mimic. Don't believe me? That right there is its web den. Not only is its body shaped like that of an ant, but it also moves its front legs in the same way an ant moves its antennae. Isn't that just amazing, AC family? Now you might be asking, why would a spider want to mimic an ant? What evolutionary purpose? Well, there could be several reasons. First, many animals actually dislike or fear ants, having learned to stay away from them due to their bites or their foul taste. A predator may choose to eat this jumping spider before this apparent ant. Second, this spider may actually look like her favorite prey, and so looking like an ant may help her get close enough to pounce. Whatever it is, these ant-mimicking spiders, of which there are hundreds of described species, are super cool, don't you think? Okay, so this wasn't our big black carpenter ant. Let's move on. Plus, we still needed to find some wild dark nights, Maldives chapter. Speaking of which, AC family, want to hear something cool? Alright, so it made total sense that the dark nights, commonly known as black crazy ants, would be found here in Maldives. If you were ever wondering if ants take tropical beach vacation getaways, the answer is yes, they do. Only they end up staying at these tropical destinations. And black crazy ants happen to be the ultimate world vacationers. You see, at one point, these Maldivian islands had their native set of ant species, like the Phaedoli ants, but as soon as the islands began to develop and later turn into a tourist destination, it opened its borders to immigrant ants. With human tourists come the need for the importation of supplies, including food items, building materials, decorative plants and trees, and pretty much everything and anything that people can't readily acquire on these tiny islands. During a chat with the general manager of the resort I was staying at, I was surprised to know that twice a week, huge barges of supplies are shipped into the island to stock the resort with everything they need. And of course, with these supplies can come some tiny ant vacationers, traveling for free. All it takes is one pregnant queen ant, or even whole colonies inhabiting any of the goods coming in, for a colony of immigrant ants to establish themselves on a small island. They can even be hiding in something as simple as a garbage can on a boat. And lo and behold, near a school in one of the local communities, I saw some naturalized Maldivian citizens of dark nights. As was described to me by the locals, they moved in huge swarms with such vigor and power. Having whole armies of immigrant ants, like these black crazy ants, move into a new place can be problematic for the local ecosystem, especially for a small island, because they can displace, kill, or outcompete native ants, which already have stable relationships with the plants and animals around them. Imagine if these black crazy ants wipe out a native species of ant that a certain species of plant depends on to disperse its seeds or pollinate to bear fruit. Or what if these black crazy ants have a taste for creatures that native ants typically leave alone? Black crazy ants, though we love our dark nights, actually pose dangers to ecosystems, especially on small islands around the world, because of the fact that they are such avid world travelers. And so are these ants. Ghost ants. Tapenoma melanocephalum. These tiny bundles of energy are called ghost ants because of their semi-transparent gasters, which make them look like floating heads. Ghost ants are also notorious world travelers, having established themselves in subtropical and tropical regions around the world. I spotted them forming a massive trail running up and down this tree and towards the beach. And here is exactly what I was talking about. AC family, look. It looks like these ghost ants have stolen the bounty of some larger Maldivian native ant and have formic acid sprayed it to immobilization. I watched as it kicked and struggled in pain as the ghost ants feasted on what was supposed to be a meal for the native ants colony. Scenes like this are heartbreaking, but it's part of the natural world where the survival of the fittest rule reigns supreme. So what are people doing now to try to stop ant tourism? Surely, for islands like Maldives, human tourism is an important industry, bringing the nation a steady amount of income. But how do we protect the native ecosystems from falling apart due to invasive tourist ants to these small islands like those of Maldives? So to deal with that, prior to landing in Maldives, I was surprised to see that the Maldivian government required all planes coming in to be sprayed with a pesticide. If you find it weird that they would do that, check out this huge spider that flew with me, sandwiched between two panes of glass making up my plane window. The flight staff told me they had watched that spider grow, which means beyond the mystery of how it got in there in the first place, it was actually feeding on a regular supply of insects. Fact is, insects can be anywhere and travel thousands of miles with people more often than one would think. Also, thankfully, most countries are strict with what fauna enter and leave its borders. Our GAN project, which has supplied thousands of ant keepers with ants for their ant farms, also aims at reducing the black market trade of ant colonies as pets to private owners, to help stop the migration of foreign ants to new places by connecting local ant keepers. But no other site spoke the message of the need for preservation of native ants and ecosystems as clearly and beautifully as this next scene you are about to see, AC family. At the base of one of the trees, near the ocean, I spotted something totally magical. It was a huge black ant. We found our native Camponotus ant. Wow, look at how gorgeous it was. But then, I noticed something even cooler. It was attending to some small, tiny, pink creatures. And that's when I realized, AC family, that OMG, this carpenter ant was milking a mealybug. What we are witnessing here was a carpenter ant milking an ant cow. You see, the mealybugs feed from the juices within this tree root, and if you look carefully, you will see the ant gently stroking the mealybug with its antennae. This stroking eventually causes the mealybug to release a sweet secretion called honeydew, a byproduct which the ant drinks up cum gusto. I have never been able to film this beautiful act of symbiosis this close. You can almost see the small appendage of the mealybug running through the ant's mouth parts. Is that like an ant-cow teat?